Mm, mm,
Joining us now from Minneapolis to discuss the latest developments in the killing of Amir Locke are activists Nikema Levy Armstrong and Toussaint Morrison. Welcome back to the Black Report. Both of you guys, we've checked in with you, boots on the ground, when George Floyd was murdered, Daunte Wright, and here we are again in the same position. I feel really bad for your city. So first, I want to pose the question to both of you. Talk to us about the mood in the city. Demi just mentioned that there was a protest of high school students.
yeah.
What is the mood in the sense of the city? I'll start with you first, Toussaint.
Well, the mood in the city right now, as I know it, is it's a lot of people are upset and want change and are demanding it right now. And a lot of people are very upset with the incompetence from the mayor, from the interim police chief, and then also from the media that actually took all the propaganda from the MPD, showed the gun. They went for bait and hook, that they called him a suspect, even though he wasn't. And a lot of people are extremely sick and tired.
All right, Nikema.
I would agree with people are sick and tired. And they're also outraged that we have yet another police in Minneapolis after a worldwide outcry for justice following the murder of George Floyd. And the reality is that 6 months after George Floyd, a Somali man he was killed by Minneapolis. And then Winston Smith, a black man, was killed by the U.S. Marshal in the city of Minneapolis. So we have dealt with trauma upon trauma upon trauma in the midst of a pandemic and all types of uncertainty. So folks are outraged, but they're also energized to stay out in the streets and to disrupt it.
Right. Toussaint, I want to pivot back to you and talk to you. I know we've talked before during the protest, like I said, George Floyd, Daunte Wright. What's the mood of the police and how is the interaction right now? Because we know before there was, a little, some mishaps, but what is the mood of the police department right now?
Well, the mood of the police department right now, I would sense is that of frightened. I mean, because I've seen few to any police cars during marches, during actions. The only police interaction I know of is when we pulled up to interim police chief Amelia Huffman's house to demand that she resign, and that's the only interaction I know of right now. There was several police cars that backed off in the alleys while we were marching on Saturday. So I have known of no police interactions since then, since they've taken the life of Amir Locke.
Right. So, Nikema, I want to go to you. Now, Seth mentioned earlier that the mayor is putting a ban on no-knock warrants right now. But what do the people want to happen? Is it for the officers to be arrested, for them to be fired. What are the demands from the people right now in the city of Minneapolis?
I think that the first demand is for the city of Minneapolis to abide by what it says it's going to do. Back in November of 2020, Mayor Jacob Price claimed that he had banned no-knock warrants or severely restricted their use.
History repeats itself. Niele repeats herself too.
It does repeat itself. And the ending of that conversation, when Toussaint was talking about, how does he feel? He talked about Rodney King and being a Black man, and about how they want us to feel as if our lives are not valued. Yeah. And that's the pain we felt yesterday, because and the day before yesterday, it's like if they could kill somebody, a U.S. citizen, a white woman, then we know we're doomed, because the value of our life is less than a white person in their eyes. And so it's just a lot of heaviness right now, because it's like we know that it's not going to get any better. More than likely, the reality is it's going to get worse.
Yeah, and that is unfortunate.
On a Friday.
And it's before we get into more heavy stuff, I have to say, Niele, it is Happy Swag Hoodie Day. RNG says he's rocking Jackson State University to start off the new year. It is basketball season in the swag. So it is Friday too. So check RNG, the RNG Sports on YouTube tonight and tomorrow. I believe too, he's usually, football season. I know Saturday he's live like most of the day, but tonight, check him out. I'm sure he'll give you his schedule, but always educational and entertaining watching the RNG Swag Sports Show. So check him out. But Niele, you're not rocking any jerseys today.
No, but I do rock Grambling State University with me everywhere I go. And
everywhere
just to that point of like we're talking about, the state of Black America, an HBCU is the one place where you can get centered. So at least at a HBCU, everybody's pretty much like-minded. You're in your community, you feel safe, and you're around your people. So, that is a safe space for Black folks right now at HBCU. So if your child is considering going to college, especially the state of this country, you might want to consider an HBCU.
There you go. Shoot, it might be the only choice real soon for Black folks. So, and ain't nothing wrong with that. HBCUs turn out the best talent, no matter what the field is. So let's get that straight. And speaking of colleges and speaking of so-called top universities, this week a Black Harvard University dean was removed from his position after a far right-wing blog resurfaced years ago some of his so-called controversial tweets. Gregory Davis served as dean for Dunster House, one of the Ivy League's undergraduate residential houses. However, he announced that he had been removed from his role in a message reportedly shared with students through the affiliates of the residential house. His removal, I should say, comes months after the far-right blog Yard, is the name of the far-right blog. It reported comments he made during the Black Lives Matter movement, where he, like so many others, was expressing their concern and their issues with racism. Now he's out of a job.
And what he tweeted was the truth. Number one, like RNG says, it was the truth. And this administration is basically saying that the First Amendment right only applies to them.
Yeah.
Doesn't apply to anybody else. Anybody that is against what they say, as long as you go along with them, then, hey, it's good for you. But if you don't, then no, it doesn't apply.
Yeah. The face of this chaos, the guy who sits at Mar-a-Lago said yesterday when asked about international law, he said, well, he only acts on his own morality. That's the most scary statement, because we know that he shows no morality.
Yeah, but going back to the teachers, there are a lot of stories from Black professors at these Ivy League and these top colleges that are struggling. If they haven't already lost their job, there are stories that are hard to get out, but they are suffering and they are struggling. They were already having a problem with getting tenure, right? We remember Nicole Hannah Jones and her wanting to have tenure, and then she had to go to Howard University. So imagine what these Black professors, instructors, aides are going through as these colleges wipe out their departments, try to figure out how to maintain them, and especially Black studies, right? They're impacted the most. And so, it's just heart wrenching to see what's happening to Black folks all across this country, from the federal government to our colleges and institutions, because we are being hit hard by this Trump Klan administration.
Yeah, absolutely. No truer words.
Which goes back to the HBCUs. This might be a time to where we really need to empower and fund and flood with financial resources our HBCUs.
Right, exactly. 100%.
So it's just horrible. But since we're talking about George Floyd and in the center of what's happening right now, and all eyes on Minneapolis, Hennepin County Attorney Mary Moriarty on Thursday said Minneapolis officials will launch an independent probe into the fatal shooting of local resident Renee Nicole Good while she was in her car. Top story of the week, of course. She said that if the FBI is the sole investigative agency, the state will not receive the investigative findings, and our community may never learn about its content, she added. And then, of course, meanwhile, 2 people were shot yesterday by U.S. Border Patrol agents in Portland, Oregon. And so we see this continuing to ramp up. And we're seeing a split, always talking about, state and local government is going to be what saves this country. And now we see why. You see the federal government and their agencies are trying to hide and bury information. And you have the state, which is, of course, Keith Ellison as the attorney general. And then you have the district attorney here trying to get to the truth and trying to even hold this officer accountable.
Well, there's a couple of things on that, but I'm going to just briefly segue back, only because Dr. David Giles is watching, and prior to what you had said before about the Harvard educator and other Black educators, Dr. Childs is the director of Black Studies at Northern Kentucky University, and he says he's had some challenges of late having to think about what content he teaches and what he writes about. We've had Dr. Childs on a few times in the past, and yes, that's very, very important. You brought up a great point on these Black educators, but now we can get back to what you were saying, Neil, and you're absolutely right. So much is going on with this ICE and how to handle them. I know in New York, Governor Hochul has said that she is interested in pursuing legislation in which citizens can sue. And what that does, it doesn't save the life, right? But what it generally does, when people file wrongful death lawsuits, and you can't get, in this case, you may not be able to get this guy into a courtroom. You can't get the truth out in the trial. In a civil case, a lot of times you can get all of that information out, and sometimes that's the only means of justice. So we'll watch what New York does. I know that they have a Democratic majority there, so it's likely that they can get a bill done. It's just a matter of how soon they can get a bill done in New York, and perhaps other states, Democrat and Republicans, will follow, because everybody has to be fed up with this. And and real quick, Miel, what flew under the radar is what Attorney Crump has been touting on his social media the last 24 hours is what happened there in your backyard in Los Angeles on December 31st. Keith Porter, a 43-year-old father of 2, was fatally shot by an off-duty ICE agent. His family says there's no proof he fired at anyone.
Right.
And the Homeland Security claims the agent acted in self-defense, but they have offered no evidence.
Right. Black Lives Matter Grassroots has been boots on the ground from day one, uplifting that story, telling that story, amplifying that story. And so one thing you can rest assured is that if Black Lives Matter Grassroots is on the case, they're going to push for accountability. They're at the police commission meetings every week. Okay. I think this is week 400 and something or two. I mean, they let you, so they're on the case. And now Ben Crump is on it. We'll continue to talk about that. We should probably talk about that next week. But going back to Minneapolis, we know that they have successfully prosecuted on a state level the murderer of George Floyd. We know that they've done that for Derek Chauvin. And so that is the type of accountability that the people of Minneapolis want to see now. And Trump and his administration are blocking that. They are suppressing the information. We don't know. Yesterday, JD Vance popped up. We knew he was missing. We knew he was somewhere with the Heritage Foundation and Turning Point, doing whatever he does in the shadows. But he popped up yesterday for this lengthy press conference, of course, at the White House. And he just basically was like, her life had no value. And I'm summing this up. You could read her life had no value. The guy has total immunity. And the idiot, this is what I mean about strategy, and they're just incompetent. This fool went and said his name on TV. So after he did that, every progressive blog, every protester put that man's name out there.
And they put pictures of him and his wife.
Okay. And that's JD Vance's fault. Okay. That's his fault. That's on him.
And you know what's interesting, Niele? JD Vance and this agent, JD Vance has a Indian wife, or where's she from? From India, wherever she's from. This guy has an Asian wife as well. It's interesting, I say, for obvious reasons, I think. Right, Dr. Marilyn says not surprised. It's a lot of these, I'm gonna say, alleged or apparent racist. Why do they have a non-white wife? They don't want these people here.
Because they look at women as property. Let's be clear. They look at us as property. So it's not about being his partner or his equal. White men look, especially the ones of descent of white supremacists and slavery and this ideology of white is supreme. They think that women, white, especially brown, black, and others, are their property.
Yeah,
that's why.
There's no other explanation. Yeah, you're right.
That's why. Well, hopefully, this district attorney, Moriarty, will be able to bring this man to justice, because we know if they are able to bring him charges against him on a state level, there will be nothing that Donald Trump can do about that. So it'll be interesting to pay attention to this, because if it happens again, this is how state and local agencies are going to have to respond to this bullshit.
Yeah. Well, in Portland last night, two Homeland Security officers two people were shot by Homeland Security officers, and that is still being unraveled as we speak. So, yeah, listen, this is when you say something's out of control. Well, the house is already burned down. Now, just it's time for the recovery efforts to begin somehow, and we'll have to see what that looks like. So we're going to switch gears just a little bit, because there's been some key developments in the Sean Diddy Combs case. There's about 4 recent developments. A new appeal has been filed, and Diddy is seeking to overturn or reduce his 50-month sentence, accusing the judge of relying on conduct tied to charges a jury rejected. Constitutional challenge is what it is. His lawyers argued that the sentence should be based only on the 2 Mann Act convictions, not acquitted sex trafficking and racketeering allegations. And also, there's a report, haven't verified this report, but there's a report that says that Diddy has reportedly been approved for the First Step Act, making work release or supervised placement possible as early as this summer. And the last update is that his employees are upset with him now. They're saying that all of their pay and their bills have gone unpaid during his incarceration. And even family members have said that they have to go through his agency, I guess. They're the ones that's holding the books, and they have to approve. The family has to give invoices, and sometimes those invoices are not approved. So there's a lot going on with Diddy.
I mean, but duh, why would you? Duh, we haven't gotten paid. Well, you're not the sharpest knife in the bunch. What are you still waiting around for?
Yeah, when I saw that, you are right. When I saw that, I'm like, wait a minute, your boss is in prison. You expect to get paid?
I don't think he has you working. I mean, well, Diddy is known to work people and not pay him. So, maybe that's the situation. But still, I would definitely have a part-time job. And as far as the family, that's called parenting. Y'all just can't go into my bank account, and when I get out, I'm broke. What do you think this is?
Well, with the family, apparently, for his sentencing, he had arranged for all these folks to come to New York, hotels and everything, and he instructed them to put in invoices. It was his agency that handles his money, and I know I'm not using the right term when I say agency, but it was those who handle his money. It's a firm that handles his money, and they initially denied those requests.
An accounting firm?
It's not an account. I forgot how they determined it. Probably accounting firm. Let's just say accounting firm. But they initially denied it, and after a couple of days, it was reported by TMZ that they actually honored those invoices. But you're right. The employees and you work for Diddy.
Come on, y'all not gonna drain my money when I get out in the summer. I'm gonna be broke. You got me twisted, okay? But another story that popped yesterday that Donald Trump said that Diddy sent him a letter.
Oh gosh!
He denied his pardon. So to me, that seems to say you about to get out in the summer. There's no need to expedite this. But if this would have been one of his white buddies that hung out and played golf at Mar-a-Lago, we probably would have a different outcome. I think that is safe to say.
But you know what? There was reports a few months ago that Diddy was seeking a pardon. I have a suspicion that Trump, he likes to talk, and he threw that out there. Just he somehow figures that it puts a feather in his cap by publicly, shaming Diddy that way by saying, yeah, he requested and I denied it. It's like, come on. What was the point of that? With all that's going on?
No, the point was to give 50 Cent an opportunity to create a meme.
Okay.
Because it's coming, because 50 Cent apparently has no business but Diddy's business.
Here go Greer.
Yeah, I wanted to share something else because Joe Budden talked about this. His sons are doing a tell-all document series. So as we talk about money, so that what they were debating was, is this Joe Budden's take is this is a bad time, right? Because they're doing it on the Zeus network.
Okay. That's a perfect network for them.
Well, they're doing it. His theory, based on what we're talking about getting money and things like that, they're doing it for a bag. But I disagree. I agree with Joe on this. The level of Diddy's celebrity, doing a documentary, a tell-all family documentary like this on a network like that, nah. I disagree. I think that this is a bad idea and it's too soon.
Well, I disagree. I think that demo over there at Zeus is their demo, right? I don't have a Zeus account. I don't think. Chat, do you guys have Zeus accounts? Let us know. I think that they're speaking to their peers, and we don't exactly know how much they told in this documentary, but maybe, they need a bag. Diddy told them, get out there.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. It's totally about a bag, but I don't think that they're going to do justice to his story. You know what I mean? Because they're not willing to talk about
But it's not his story. It's not his story. It's their story. Because it's their experience as well. It's when it comes to me, when it comes to Diddy's family, it's not just about him. It's about their experience and what they go through too. So why not let them talk?
Come on, son. They're not gonna be honest. Come on, son.
Well, 50 wasn't honest. Touré, look at Touré. Touré is going at it and debunking a lot of things in that documentary. So I mean, 50 wasn't honest. So I think we're gonna get the same thing. We're gonna get a little truth and a little,
Dr. Childs says if he had been one of his buddies that hung out with him on Epstein Island, they would have been out already. Yep.
Out
and
like
Dr. Marilyn says, see the doctors, it's good to have the doctors in the house. Dr. Marilyn says, we have moved on from the Epstein files. No, we haven't.
No, we just did a story yesterday, Dr. Marilyn, where the oversight committee just was approved subpoena power to subpoena Epstein's attorney, his accountant, a journalist, and a couple of his friends. Mm-hmm. So even though the Department of Justice is playing around with them files, guess what? The oversight committee, Republican and Democrat, are subpoenaing Epstein's inner circle to come and testify. So get your popcorn ready, because I'm sure those testimony hearings will be televised. So get ready.
Okay, a couple.
I want to tease something real quick before we start going to the next one. Now, because our guest today has a penchant for Harlem, I see a Diddy novel, something sexy in the future, about the evolution of a gangster to now, I totally see it coming. So I want to say it live on this show. So that I get some credit when Rashonda does her next book on Diddy and she's got that Lifetime movie. I want to be the one to have said it publicly.
Well, just before we get to Rashonda, just one quick thing and a question for Niel. RNG says 50 Cent is still upset that a bisexual man took his baby mama. He said it ain't easy. And Dr. Nicole, see, the doctor's in the house. She says, what is Zeus?
See what I'm saying? We don't know what Zeus is. It is where the baddies, those wild girls that fight. Krishan.
Oh, okay. When you say baddies, they got to fight. It's not that.
You got to fight. It is a young demo ratchet network, but it has made young Black folks millionaires. Okay, so that's the only good thing. Yeah, baddies. Okay. The only good thing that came out of Zeus. The owner is Lemmy. Young. He's under 30, and he is rich. Okay, and he is where all the young people go to. It's called Zeus Network. Jocelyn Hernandez has her cabaret over there. Okay. You'll find Ray J over there. And then the aunties, when it was Rick Ross's mother, who else is what's the girl, Black China's mom?
Dr. Nicole.
Black China's mom.
Okay, and, so we're not talking about the baddies I was thinking about.
Yeah, no. What I'm saying is this is the program.
I know.
Tons of baddies and stuff. So that's the network that they're going, which is their demo. That's their demo.
Based on your description, I can't call my wife a baddie. And I can't call Dr. Nicole a baddie. And they are baddies.
It's a generational term. So for
I thought baddies meant look good, that they hot.
For Gen Xer, but for Gen Zer, baddie is that right there.
Okay, fighting and stuff.
Dr.
Childs says Zeus is messy. Okay.
Very messy. Okay. Very messy.
I got it. Well, I tell you who is not messy, who's written about 60 books now. She's going to tell me the exact number, I'm sure, but my count is at about 60. She is just the one and only, the wonderful Rashonda Tate. Welcome back to Let It Be Known.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
Such an honor to have you. I love
with love from Harlem. With love from Harlem. Wait a minute now. Tell us about this, Rashonda.
So one of the things that I love about historical fiction is just unearthing these historical icons that once you read about them, you're like, how did I not know more about this? So this is based on the life of Hazel Scott. And many people may know Hazel Scott as the woman that played the two pianos, but she was so much more. She was married to Adam Clayton Powell Jr. She was his second wife. She started out as his mistress, a decision that she regretted. And what happens though, when you're the mistress and you become the wife, that leaves the mistress spot open. And so she has some turmoil throughout her marriage, but together their union was unbelievable. They were considered the powerhouse couples of the 1940s, the biggest couple in the country at the time. And so I explored their relationship, but this story is more about Hazel. It is how she had to lose herself in order to shine. When two stars get together, one of them is bound to dim. And it is how these two powerhouses came together. And her star had to dim in order for Adam Clayton Powell Jr. to shine, and how she ended up taking back her own.
I love that. I actually read the Harlem Rhapsody, and this one, you know, was similar, but this was W.E.B. Du Bois's alleged lover. And it sounds very similar. And so definitely that's going to be my next read, because I love that. I'm also reading The Davenports, which is about the Gilded Age. And so, you know, it takes us back to a time where, you know, it's not always a struggle. It's a struggle in other ways, but as far as the financial, the hardship, the man, books like yours and these tell the resilience of Black folks and how we were on the front line. So I really appreciate, because those contributions help widen our narrative in this American experience. What inspired you to take on this topic and this story?
So it really is about educating the masses. I am stunned at the number of people that had no idea who Hazel Scott was, never heard of her. And so I love being able to introduce people to history, to entertain and educate at the same time. I have 54 books, Stacey, so I'm not quite as sick.
Okay. All right.
What I've done in the past is I really, you know, I write a lot of entertainment, commercial fiction. My last two books have been about educating people on things they might not have known. My previous book, The Queen of Sugar Hill, was about educating people on Hattie McDaniel. And this one is on Hazel Scott. And I just love resurrecting those icons that have been really erased from history.
I love it. And I want to see a movie. I just want to say, I want to see movies of this.
Well, you've done movies, right?
I have 2 of my books have been made into movies. I'm a screenwriter, so I write screenplays as well. I do a couple of Christmas movies, but The Queen of Sugar Hill isn't being made into a movie. Right now, they've gotten a director, so I'm excited about that. But I would love to see this made into a movie, just because, you know, Hazel Scott was the first Black woman to ever have her own nationally syndicated television show. I didn't know that. She was basically banned from America for speaking up. They deemed her a communist, and she was banned from America and exiled to Paris. And so there are so many things that I would just love for people to see on the screen.
You know, I was introduced to her when Alicia Keys did the Grammys, right? And so that's how it translated to a younger generation, because it was like, she's playing 2 pianos, but then she paid homage to, you know, your character in the book, because she was the one that did it. And so if you could have a leading lady, who would be your leading lady in your movie?
Absolutely Alicia Keys. Well, I saw Hell's Kitchen and almost came out of my chair. I would love to see Alicia Keys play that role, because she was inspired by it. But one of the things I've learned in this business is actors act. And so you will have someone that you never expected take that role and just completely make it their own.
Wow. And Greer says, and she's from Harlem.
I know. That's why I was in my seat going, she's perfect for it. Yeah.
And first of all, Dr. Marilyn Sturtevant says that she met you when you came to her book club. Dr. Marilyn's in Texas, by the way, as well. So that's that's good. And she also said The Queen of Sugar Hill is an excellent book. We of course had you on with Queen of Sugar Hill, but you I still can't get over what you said. You said the Mistress spot still being open. That got me. That kind of shook me a little bit.
Yeah, and you know how you get them is how you lose them. Okay. One of the things though that I loved about this, and so I wrestled with this because we're so used to our historical leaders, especially when I was writing about Adam Clayton Powell, because baby, he had me ready to smash my laptop. But I believe in writing flaws and all. And I know this sounds crazy. I'm not senile, but Hazel came to me as I'm writing, and she's like, if you're gonna tell my story, tell it all. And so the good, the bad, and the ugly. And she made mistakes. She was 21, 22 years old when she got involved with Adam. And so it was a decision that haunted her all of her life. She hated that she had done that, but he was a charmer. And then she became enamored with his power. And so, she ended up, they wrestled throughout their marriage because he's the pastor of Abyssinian Baptist Church. So now he needs this first lady. He wants her to stop being in the clubs. He wants her to stop in the clubs where she would perform. He wanted her to become a, dutiful first lady. And she was like, I'm the biggest jazz star in the country. So their story was fascinating.
So who would you want to play Mr. Powell? Who would that be?
Again, it's so hard because when one of my books was made into a movie, Let the Church Say Amen, they brought Layla Rashawn to be the first lady. And when they said Layla Rashawn is playing the first lady, I said Sunshine. Sunshine is playing the first lady. And she was phenomenal. She embodied that role. And that from that moment on, I really stopped envisioning people because who they get, if they're a good actor, they really do make it their own.
Mm-hmm. Wow. Well, I was thinking at looking at him, what's the guy's name that just broke up with Tiana Taylor?
Aaron Pierre.
Yeah, he might be good for that. Yeah, he's a little
yellow. Casting the roles already. Nice.
So Adam was very tall. I think whoever you get, they have to be tall.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Now, do you? I'm sorry, Neil.
No, you go ahead.
Rashonda, do you get any pushback, any hate mail for something? I mean, you do say that it's historical fiction, but there's a lot of facts here. Do you get any pushback, especially when you talk about mistresses and stuff like that?
So the book isn't out yet. It comes out January 27th. And the initial reviews, I have not. And I didn't get any in with the Queen of Sugar Hill because I do the facts of the story. I don't make up the scandalous parts of their life. I put the facts and just the facts as the foundation. And one of the things people always say, well, did you talk to the family? And I did not talk to the family. Adam Clayton Powell, the fourth or the third is still alive. And I hope that one day he'll see it, but I didn't interview them because I'm writing fiction. And that's like someone coming to you and saying, hey, Stacey, I'm gonna write a story about your mama, but I'm gonna make some stuff up. So that becomes a fine line. That becomes a fine line. And so when you're writing historical fiction, you really want to draw that line so that you stay true to the character, but once you start bringing in family members, they're like, hold up, wait a minute, I don't want you to say that, and you get around that by saying this is historical fiction.
Mike V is saying I'll be sure, and Nancy Wall said October London. Talk about, we talk about envisioning these as movies for streaming platforms or major screens. Is it hard? Talk about the journey to get something on television or on a streaming company or big screen. What's the process? And everything is hard in Hollywood, so I'm not going to even ask that question, but talk about the process and what that journey's been like for you.
If you have the money, it's not hard. That's the wallet makes the rules. That's the hardest part because there's so many streaming platforms. They're looking for ready-made content. So if you have money to make a quality movie, and you notice I put that there, quality movie, you can easily find ways to get your story picked up. But it is that money, getting companies to green light you and give you the money to make those movies. And so you'll see people doing GoFundMe. You'll see people, a lot of people are going to Tubi. It's some good and some bad. We've seen some hard Tubi stories, but Tubi is trying to turn things around. And, they have some wins that are making them some money. So that is a great place for people to take their content, but it's all about having that movie already done.
And when it's done and you submit it, is the return, is the ROI worth it? Or is it still just, okay.
No, if it is quality, because I have several friends that have made a lot of money from Tubi. And their movies are good. And just from streaming platforms, because you have the money that it takes to put the movie together. Right. And then everything, once you make that back, everything is profit. So I know a lot of people that are making money off of these movies, but again, they have to have that money up front. And then the return on investment often pays off if the movie's good.
Wow. Okay. Well, it sounds like even the titles, like Queen of Sugar Hill. When you first brought that to us, I was like, wow, that in itself was going to get some attention. But you to your point though, it has to be quality. And you're like, Rashonda reminds me of Prince. Like Prince put out an album every year. Rashonda puts out these books every year, and they are so good.
Thank you. With historical fiction, I have to take a little bit more time. So now I'm on the 2 years. I'm getting older, so I got to slow down some. Okay. But it takes time because I research. I don't just write these books and just, come off the top of my head. I dive into research, and I spent 3 years researching for The Queen of Sugar Hill with Hattie McDaniel and 3 years researching Hazel Scott, because you cannot get on the internet. The internet is full of erroneous errors, erroneous information. And so I get off the internet and I go to research libraries. I spend time in DC. I spend time in California. I go through their own personal papers. So I do extensive research. I get so bogged down in the research. And in fact, one of the things that I've learned in all of this, I tell my kids, burn everything, burn all my because I read Hazel's letters and I read Freddie Washington, who was Adam's first wife. She played an Imitation of Life. It was her first wife's sister. I read their letters with their scandalous relationships. And I'm like, I'm sure they didn't think some woman 100 years from now would be sitting in the library with her jaw on the floor reading their business. But they wrote everything down. And so that's where I get all of my information from, the foundation to write these books.
Wow. They say sometimes you're already, looking on to the next, because you pretty much have done, and you're about to give birth at the end of the month. But I know that brain is ticking and something has come across your mind. What other iconic figures in the Black experience would you like to tackle and write about?
So there's another one. The publishers are kind of iffy on historical fiction, because we got to prove to them that people want to read it. And so my publishers are like, maybe we'll put her on the shelf for now, but I'm determined to tell her story. And it's Mammy Pleasant. Her real name is Mary Pleasant. She was in California, San Francisco, and she was partially funded the Underground Railroad. She was a domestic woman who was rich, one of the richest women. She was actually one of the first millionaires. But she was a maid who would go into all of these rich men's clubs. And because they dismissed domestics and made us like we were invisible, she would take all of their information in. And then she would go and invest in the stock market. And she would go, all of these tips they're talking about. And so she would go and she built her wealth that way. And she's her name, they called her Mammy Pleasant. And she died penniless because, she's wealthy, part owner in a bank, but she couldn't, it's the early 1900s. So she had to get a white partner. A white man, they were good friends, but he had a wife. And when her partner died, the wife took everything, all of Mammy Pleasant's money. She actually had a mansion that she lived in. That she bought the mansion, she built it, but because of the times, she moved the white couple in, like they owned it and she was their maid, but it was actually hers. And she ended up losing everything. So her story is fascinating. But again, you know, he who holds the purse strings. My publishers are like, we don't know. But my hope is they'll see, okay, people want to learn this information and they'll come back to it.
No, 100%. It reminds me, first of all, two things. One, it reminds me of Biddy Mason. I don't know if you know who Biddy Mason is, but she was the millionaire down here in LA, and she started First AME Church. Their stories sound similar, but it also reminds me of the story, The Banker. I don't know if you saw it. It was on Apple TV, and the same thing pretty much happened to them. They put their trust in the white man because they couldn't do it on their own. And then it sounds like same story, Black experience, building wealth, but white people taking it from you.
Yep. But the story that I'm working on next is, did you know that Black women actually were crucial in building the bootlegging business? I was fascinated. As I'm researching, I discover these things. And so that my next story is on the Whiskey Woman. And it is about a bootlegging ring in New Orleans. It starts in New Orleans. And they were run by Black people because as a judge threw out one of the leaders, he said, "You're not intelligent enough to run a real bootlegging ring." And so they were dismissed, and they were able to build this network because people dismissed them. And, you know, we're brilliant.
We are.
One quick thing before we let you go, Rashonda, is Lena Horne was good friends with Hazel Greer says. Does she make the book?
So Lena, yes, they were very good friends. Lena ended up on the cutting room floor. She made
the first Neil said,
I know. My editor we ended up having to take her out because the book was just too long. But there are several other people. She was good friends with Billie Holiday. So Billie Holiday makes the book. So does James Baldwin, Nina Simone. So you will see a whole cast of characters. Langston Hughes. That was one of the things, the discoveries that I love were all the friends that she had, and they do make the book.
What I really love about this conversation as we talk about, you know, the erasure of Black history in this country, you're bringing out stories that people don't even know about, right? And so what they're trying to erase is what's known, but you're unearthing the unknown. And it's the resilient part of the Black experience. So just truly appreciate what you're doing. I'm excited because I'm believing God gonna make some of these some movies. Because I love The Banker, and I love these stories about, you know, because it also talks about, you know, we were talking about the dress. I'm just gonna say the dress. And just about the way women carried themselves back then and the dignity they had and how fly they were. And to be able for young Black kids to see that on the screen, I think it's so important. So thank you for your contributions to our experience.
And thank you. Before we go, I do want to say one of the things I want to thank is the Black press, because I wouldn't be able to write any one of these books without the Black press. I got so much of my information from the Black newspapers. So, you know, I want all of the Black press to realize the impact that you're having. These are the Black press that has been around. I'm pulling up news articles. So we are leaving a legacy that is helping educate the future. That I know I would not have been able to write this without the Black press.
Wow. Yeah. And Dr. Marilyn says we need one of your books in our Ivy box.
I know. I want to make that happen.
With love from Harlem. It's always such a pleasure to have Rashonda Tate with us. Wow. Thanks, Rashonda.
Yes, looking forward to reading the book. Looking forward to supporting and reading that.
Thank you. I'm about to hit the road on a 31 city tour, so I'm excited.
Wow. Let us know when you're on the East Coast, okay?
Will do.
And let y'all know when you're in LA.
Oh, 100%. 100%. I hope you're at Malik's bookstore. I know you're probably familiar with Malik's bookstore.
Absolutely. Got to support our Black bookstores.
I will be there when you pop up.
All right.
Wow.
All right.
From Harlem. That is awesome.
Right. And so speaking of Black women and how, you know, we're taking charge, Mayor Mary Sheffield is delivering some good news for mothers in Detroit. She's delivering cash for moms in a historic Detroit first, where she's launching RX Kids, with $1,500 upfront and $500 monthly in no income checks for new moms in Detroit. Now that money goes towards rent, groceries, diapers, formulas, doctor visits, or whatever keeps the family stable, right? Now the enrollment will kick off within Sheffield's first 100 days in office, targeting the roughly 8,000 babies born yearly in her city, where half of them live in poverty. And so that's what leadership looks like. And who knows, maybe 100 years from now, somebody might be telling her story.
Wow, that is awesome. I mean, right away, she's making a positive impact.
100%. 100%. I thought, that was a great story to come out of. And then let's talk about another awesome Black woman who's holding the line in the Supreme Court. Justice Ketanji Brown Jackson fears are confirmed as data says Supreme Court tilts to the wealthy. Now, a recent study shows that the court granting more wins and more access to the rich, which is backing up Jackson's critique of a system skewed against the poor. Now, this New York Times report that economists from Columbia and Yale found that Republican appointees on the court are now choosing the richer side in 7 out of 10 cases.
Yeah, and no surprise whatsoever. But again, sometimes you can say, well, what's the point of having, Ketanji on the Supreme Court when, it's such a overwhelming majority or whatever, but these are the points. Somebody who is going to hold them accountable, whether they like it or not, and whether they follow suit or not. But history will show that she held them accountable, and history may show that she's probably that she will be among, if not the most intelligent of all of the judges.
Right. And they're doing it, but guess what? The data is showing that they're being biased. When we know that the court is supposed to, that scale that they have with the blindfold lady, and that's the way they're supposed to be. So what they're telling us is the hoods are off and the blindfold is off.
100%. Wow. All right. This administration has again showing that it wants to be not only the authoritarian or dictatorship here, but they want to run the world. They want the world to follow them, or how about this? They want to shut the world out and make this an enclave of a dictatorial situation. Because I say that all to say that in furthering his agenda, this president and the Heritage Foundation and J.D. Vance started the process this week of withdrawing the United States from 66 international organizations, including 30 United Nations and other global bodies dedicated to fighting climate change, eradicating poverty, eradicating violence, and so much more. In response to this, the Global Trade Watch director, Melinda St. Louis, said that Trump's contempt for international efforts to build peace and solidarity continues to shred the United States' international credibility and will cause damage that cannot be repaired.
All right. And before we get to the fun stuff for Friday, one more international story. Governments of Antigua and Barbuda and the Dominica have reached a deal with the U.S. to host asylum seekers who cannot return to their homeland. And this is according to the Miami Herald. Now, in a statement, Dominica Prime Minister Roosevelt Squerd linked the decision to an executive order signed by President Trump that I've never said president. Let me redact that. Donald Trump, that placed Dominica along with Antigua and Barbuda under partial travel ban in the U.S. Now, the decision has sparked debate due to the islands already struggling with several challenges, including increased gun violence, fragile tourism, and migration. So we see these Caribbean islands having to capitulate to Donald Trump in order for them to get the resources that they need to survive. And that's what Donald Trump is doing to our Caribbean brothers and sisters.
Well, Mike V said it best, and it's so true that they are globalizing Jim Crow as a foreign and domestic policy. And you've said it often, that they are their ancestors' greatest, wildest dreams, because we had Jim Crow. We know what Jim Crow was about, and it was here. Donald Trump, as Mike V mentions it, and the Heritage Foundation and Stephen Miller and JD Vance, they want Jim Crow globally, because they are telling other nations. JD Vance has several times, France, Germany, you guys got you allow too many, and he doesn't say black people, but you allow too many brown people to come over there. They want Jim Crow everywhere, as Mike V said.
They do. And so we just have to, we'll continue to monitor these stories.
Oh, wait, and did you see Elon Musk's retweet?
I did.
You said you did?
Yeah. I mean,
and so that, and he was hanging out at Mar-a-Lago the other day. So this is that it was so racist that is no longer, once, as we said, this is no longer like coded messages or anything like that. They are just throwing it out there in your face, and it's what we talked about with Farrakhan had mentioned. We mentioned what Farrakhan the other day. We mentioned what Farrakhan had said, and here Elon Musk retweets some racist stuff. If white men become a minority, we will be slaughtered. Remember, if non-whites openly hate white men while white men hold a collective majority, then they will be 100 times more hostile and cruel, etc., etc. This is what their fear. Their fear is because of all of the dastardly, disgusting stuff that they've done to us, that if we had the power, we would do it to them. That's their fear.
I mean, I think their fear is that they know that they are the minority.
Without question, but
they know that they are the minority, and
they know they
especially here in the United States. I mean, globally for sure, but in the United States, that's why Donald Trump is doing and did do in his first administration everything to stop the census. And that data is skewed. The last census data is totally skewed because of all the things that he's done. And so this is why they're doubling down, because they're thinking this is their last chance to seize their supremacy.
Yeah. The bottom line is that they are so afraid of that. You're right. They are the minority, but the problem is the majority has given them power. Majority of the citizens in this country and in other countries that they're trying to control, they've given them power, and they are just afraid that, okay, we've mistreated these people for 500 years.
Right. Well, let's lighten things up and let's get into this fun Friday story.
Oh, let's do it. So we Neil, we've often talked, I know several times we've talked about Black fathers and Black TV shows, but how about the Black moms? Who, folks, would be your favorite or strongest or best Black TV mom? Is it Claire Huxtable, Florida Evans, Aunt Viv? How about Lisa Landry from Sister Sister, or Rainbow Johnson from Blackish, or even Everybody Hates Chris, Rochelle Rock, or Wanda from the Bernie Mac Show? Love Wanda from the Bernie Mac Show. Tasha Mack from The Game. Anybody got some choices? Harriet Winslow, Family Matters, or we can't forget Weezy.
If I had to do them in order, favorite to least, well, I won't say least favorite, but I think my favorite TV mom, of course, is Claire Huxtable. There was nothing like easy, Mama right? Claire. She was my top. But then I definitely loved Weezy.
Yeah,
I love, because it took a special woman to handle George. Okay, it took a special woman to handle that man. Then I think my next one would be the original mother of Fresh Prince of Bel-Air.
Because original one, right?
Yes, the original one. Because just the way that they took over Bel-Air, I mean, that story was just so good. So I think she would come in, and then Janet followed by Florida, because ain't nothing like the good Black struggle. Okay, and Florida represented the struggle, and and the whole white Jesus, and Florida would be next. And then the other two shows I really didn't watch. So I mean, I'll just do Tashina Arnold and then Family Matters. I wasn't a big Urkel fan. That was like, I think I was too I was like maybe in high school, and that wasn't for me. But yeah, that's my order.
Well, Mike V says this is so hard because he loves them all equally. Orange G says Florida Evans and Weezy. Everybody loves me.
It took a lot.
Yeah, she did. She had to show some extreme restraint when it came to George, and understanding too. Oh my gosh! What about Mary Jenkins, played by Marla Gibbs from 227? She was pretty feisty.
Oh, I like 227. Yeah, she was good. She was good.
There's a good one that is not on this little list. Eleanor from Rock.
I didn't watch The Rock either.
Rock
that was a trash man, right? He was a trash man. Yeah.
Yes.
I watched it sometime. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good call, Mike V. Nice. Dr. Marilyn is with you, of course. Claire Huxtable. I mean, that's my choice too, but because she was the full package, right? She was the intelligent, loving, patient mother.
Who were we talking about? Eleanor?
No, Claire.
Claire. Oh yeah. But I love one of my favorite. But Claire was no nonsense.
No nonsense, right?
Especially that time when Elroy, Sandra's boyfriend, came in and asked for that cup of coffee.
Oh my gosh, that was a classic.
And he said, "You're gonna go get him a cup of coffee.
Serve him."
And don't you never. I can get him a cup of coffee because he deserves a cup of coffee, and he brings me a cup of coffee. See that? I mean, and then when Vanessa went out drinking, baby, Claire did not play. Okay, she did not play, but she was smart. She was educated, and when she wanted that piece of art, she went and got that piece of art. She introduced us to the world of Black artists. I mean, Claire was everything. Okay, everything.
But you right, that part where she read Homeboy, the riot act. Oh my gosh, he asked for it. He asked, "It's about you gonna serve him?" What?
I mean, yeah, Mike V, I wasn't being offensive. My grandfather was a street sweeper. I mean, that's sanitation too, but we called him, my grandfather was a sweeper man, and he was the best sweeper man. Like Dr. King said, if you gonna sweep streets, sweep it like my what's his name, Angelo, the painter. And that's sanitation too. So it was no dig on that.
No, back then, even they called themselves garbage.
Yeah, I mean, Claudine.
Or some said trash man. Claudine, right.
And Claudine, he was a trash man. So there was I didn't need any offense to that.
And that was a good government job. So let's stop.
It was a good government job. It had benefits.
And let me tell you, my grandfather as a street sweeper, great job. And when everybody knew my grandfather in the neighborhood, here come Mr. A. Here come Mr. A. You know what I'm saying? So those are some dignified. That's why the sanitation worker said, "I am a man." That was, so no disrespect at all.
No, not at all. Not at all. And Mike V, he's not one of them who was offended so easily. So, but I'm not talking about Mike V. And when I say this, we live in a generation now where, things that was, I understand why you shouldn't say certain things now.
Right.
But there are things that everyone said, decades ago that was like, okay, it wasn't done
like honky, respect. Like when George said honky.
Listen, y'all, Nielle's still in, she is
certainly honky and
Black Panther all the way right here.
That's like Mike V said, Nielle, have you watched Woman King? I get it. Yeah, I did. And I liked it. And I would appreciate if Hollywood would make more movies because I hear Ryan Coogler and Michael B. Jordan are making a movie about one of our African kings and leadership. I would like to see a lot more stories like that, like Woman King on the big screen, because we need to see ourselves, as we were talking about Rashonda in her books, the stories of Black folks from a position of power it's rare to find. I mean, we see it more, but I'm talking about of the past, you know, because that's how they got us, because they always presented ourselves as begging and struggling and trying to overcome. They never presented to us the stories where we overcame and we was toe to toe.
What's her name? Marla Gibbs' character, you know, on the Jeffersons. She was the maid. What was Florence?
Florence, yeah.
She said when George and Louise moved into the
deluxe apartment,
and then she saw what's Tom's wife, Helen, the black woman, have apartment there. She goes, "How come we overcame and nobody told
me?" Right. Right. But you know what? I always thought Florence should have been fired, okay? Because she did way too much.
Been fired.
I'm like, especially from George. I don't even know how George tolerated her. Get me a cup of coffee, get the door, and would look at him like, "Negro,
get
please."
It yourself, right?
And a couple times she probably said it.
Right. But you know what? Speaking of movies, have you seen Sarah's Oil?
I'm waiting for it to come on streaming.
Okay.
Because I haven't gone to the movie. I don't really go to the movies anymore, but I am looking forward to seeing that. Is it good?
That's a real good one. It's a good one. Yeah. I was surprised how good that was. What I don't like to see, especially with black girls and black women, is them being dominated you know, by anybody, but it's particularly, you know, a white man or white people and, you know, slavery type setting. And that's what I thought this would be, but it's not. You got to check it out. This is a really great story.
Yeah.
And it's based on a true story. I understand. Is that right?
It is based on a true story. And I know right now it's on one of those streaming platforms, but you have to pay for it, which means I'm closer to getting it.
You're closer to get.
And so that's what I'm waiting for. I have all these streaming. I'm like, I'm just gonna wait for it to.
Wow, Neil, Mike V, you see, Neil got the wallet tight.
No, I don't. Yeah, hey, tight. Okay, I got things to do this year. So Mike V said Florence was a black feminist. Do you agree with that, chat? I don't know if she was a feminist. I don't know.
You know what? Speaking of Florence,
she would wait. Let me just say this. She would be like, "Feminist, don't be calling me no names." That's what Florence. Don't be calling me no names.
One of the best episodes, I think, anyways, the Billy D. Williams episode. Man, she thought. She was like, because she heard George trying to hide
that was the best, right?
Yes.
Which one?
The Billy D. episode when he kissed her on the cheek. She said, "Give me." And she asked for his driver's license. She said, "Just so."
She flipped.
But Greer said she agrees with Mike V. Greer, you think Florence was a feminist?
I think that as we could look at some of the things that she did on that, you know, like you make your own coffee and that sort of thing. Yeah. I think that, you know, if we want to, in that, as we would define feminism in that way, yeah, I mean, for black women, at least, you know, because
I don't think I'm a feminist.
Can't nobody tell you nothing to do, but she does. But Nielle, listen, chat, I want y'all to know, Nielle really does want to be the mother of the church. So it could, you know.
No, I don't. I don't know what that's from a church baby. Okay, her legacy is okay. You know, she is more in line to be a first lady than me. Okay, because but
they don't want me to be no first lady.
They don't want me to be no first lady either, because I'm gonna wear the dress.
You gonna wear it? I figured that.
That's why I'm not gonna be a first lady, because I want to wear the dress.
Mike B, you heard that right, Mike? I knew it.
I might marry a deacon, but not no pastor. Maybe the deacon, but not the pastor. You could be a deacon when you want to, just like I could be an usher or a missionary when I want to. But a pastor, you take an oath. But no, I don't think I don't think Florence was a feminist at all.
No.
Greer, do you consider yourself a feminist?
No.
No? Okay.
Just that
No,
simple.
not at all.
She from
All right.
Brooklyn.
Dr. Marilyn, Nancy, do you consider yourself feminist? I mean, and I'm only asking these questions based upon, you know, the conversations we have. I don't think I'm one either.
You don't think so?
You know, I think it's a hard question. I think for a lot of Black women to answer for various reasons, right? But for me, from a political standpoint, historically, I just have a problem with the way in which white women have conducted themselves in our self-determination as women, right? To be more inclusive in society. They use us when they want to. So if feminism is a political term that I'm just not really willing to align myself with because of that reason alone. And that might seem messed up, but it is what it is. I'm open to say will not give a homeless white man.
Here we go.
That's just
no. I
wait. You got to tell them why, Greer. Why?
I don't think that I really have to say why. I think we understand.
Yeah, but I totally before the homeless thing, I totally agree. I couldn't have said it better myself.
David Childs said he considers himself a feminist, but more in the womanist tradition, which speaks to the Black experience.
Okay, Professor. Okay, Professor. You know, that's why, like, you know, and I'll stick a pin in it after this. That's why I feel like every white progressive woman needs to be headed to Minneapolis. Show up for your sister. Okay? Show up for your sister.
Yeah, and I'm gonna jump in and say I'm more, you know, in alignment with that than the idea of feminism.
With Dr.
Yes,
Child said.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah, he said the womanist tradition was created to counter the white narrative of feminists. And Mike V says, facts, Niel.
Yeah, all of them need to be pulling up because we did it for George Floyd. You know, we did it for Trayvon Martin. Y'all need to pull up for your sister. I saw Joe Taka. I saw a lot of Black women who were on the front line for a lot of things. You know, they posted her picture. We are in solidarity with y'all, but y'all need to pull up for that woman 100%. And if ain't nobody told you, we telling you, all y'all white women's march people and the pussy hat ladies with the pink hats on your head, all of y'all need to pull up to Minneapolis and show up for her.
Cause it can't be another one of ours. I'll let you know where things stand. Can't be another one of ours. It is what it is.
And then they just shot 2 more y'all up in Oregon. Y'all need to start pulling up.
We start to call y'all out right now. Today.
Right now. Pull up for sis. Pull up for Nicole. Nicole. Pull up for her.
See, so I will say this on that. This is the moment, unfortunately, and nobody wants nobody to lose their lives or have lost their lives, but this is the moment that many folks, at least I'll say it from my lens, have been waiting for. You know why? Because this is where they will now, when George Floyd happened, yes, we saw some allies for a moment, right? Now, they're not used to this happening to them. This is like, oh my gosh, you got to be kidding me. One of us? We're pure. We're the innocent ones. Now it's happening to y'all. And so it's going to be interesting, the response. I've been looking forward to this moment. As Phil Collins said, I've been waiting for this moment all my life, oh Lord. And so here we go. Here we go, because they are now have to make a decision. Are we going to continue to support the oppression of these people? Are we going to continue to go against even our own interests to make sure that they stay oppressed? But now the same thing is happening to y'all.
But listen, let me catch this. Maybe we should have been, I'm talking about Black folks, should have been out in the street holding up Nicole's face. Because see, that's a part of the problem, if you ask me, right? You know, the violence that's committed against us, sometimes it travels across the world. I'm sorry, I'm going to say these are my opinions only. White men do not like women, and they certainly don't like their own, okay? Because they will parade us and our violence, across the world, like we protest George Floyd, But here's a white woman, a blonde woman. They're not lifting her up. But they, and so maybe we should have been out in the streets with her picture up so that the world would not forget. No, but I mean, really, I'm saying like they did her, because, what these people need to see is that they're willing to kill you.
Yes, that's my point.
Yeah, what he's
That's
saying,
my point,
right?
right.
But she needs to become the post. She needs to be a stamp, And when they start looking at that, in that way, right? Come on, no, seriously, you know what I mean? George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, like you have to be living under a rock to not know who these people are, right? But they are victims of white violence, and it's not just about, oh, this is a horrible thing that's happened. It's also a reminder for Negroes who get out of line, who step out of line. So we need to start lifting these white women's faces up. Young blonde white woman, okay? They got her. They shot her dead in her face. He looked at her when he did it.
Right.
This is Gestapo business.
Right. I mean, but I want to see them pull up. I'm sorry. I want to see them pull up. I mean, because the fear that it sends to us as Black folks, to your point, Greer, like you said, like if they'll do that to her, if they would do that to her, we already didn't live through that. Okay. So it just reminds us that we're back almost to where we started. Right. And so I want to see them. Because Black people are out there, not like, of course, George Floyd, but this really is white supremacy. It has to be fought too with they people. So they need to start showing up and pulling up and saying enough is enough.
I always find it interesting. We Greer and I, and you, of course, too, but Greer and I spent a lot of time together talking and stuff like that. I know she grew up in the movement, and but it's so interesting when it comes out of her like it just did. You heard the 70s out of her. You heard the Black Power from her just now. You heard the Panthers and all of that stuff from Greer just now. I enjoy that when she has that burst of whatever. It's always there, but when she gets it out, man, she's right.
Yeah, and we don't know what we're headed into next week, right? This weekend with these fools,
hour to hour, minute to minute.
These fools, you don't know, because they just told Greenland they'll give them 10,000 and 50,000 if they let America. So they just bypassing leadership and going straight to the people. You want 10 G's? You want 50 G's? Then tell your government that we coming. I mean, it is just. So we need the white allies. We need all them progressive white folks to see that they need to pull up. They need to be front and center and pushing back because they out of control. Handle your people. That's the weekend call. Y'all white folks, handle your people because they killing your
people. Like I said, though, really, it's an interesting moment now.
It is.
Now
it really is.
It's the same thing I've said about with the gun violence, the school shootings, and all that stuff. And you see, all you get is thoughts and prayers. Let it happen to certain individuals, and then you'll see a difference. Now, this situation, it's happened. This is a blonde, innocent white woman. Everybody knows, video shows she did nothing wrong. The governor, the mayor, and forget Trump and JD Vance and what they've said, and that Kristi Noem person, forget what they've said. Governors, Republicans, Democrats, socialists, whatever you want to call them across the country, has said, oh my God, what did y'all do? This is not right. So it's
but let me just say one last thing on this point. I disagree with you, Stacey, in that I do not believe that, we've been saying that for a long time, and we thought that would seem to be the reasonable response, right? But what we know is that isn't true. And when I reflect on history, the Germans did this to their own people. Okay. So I don't believe they killed. Listen, I'm the conspiracy theorist, so I'm going to say that up front. They killed Charlie Kirk. So I don't believe.
I get it. I get
that. I don't believe that it matters to that. It like something has to happen to one of their kids, or something has to happen to Donald Trump. They'll just sweep it under that, and that's really my point. Even about the situation with Nicole, right? The people in the street are the ones who have to take her and lift her up and make a big thing about it, right? But the powers that be are willing to sacrifice their own for their own agenda. The people who have power.
I can agree with
those,
that. Yeah.
Right. And those people in power will even allow their own children to die. I don't believe that Donald Trump would change his language at all if one of his children were murdered.
No. It would give him the fire he needed to just be more reckless.
To be more reckless. Yeah. What I'm saying, Grier, you're right.
Maybe Ivanka. Right. Ivanka might be the only one he might lose for, because he like them little blonde, white girls. So,
but it'll just make him angrier and more violent. It'll make him more angrier and more violent.
But
I don't think it'll stop him from.
I don't think it's Tiffany. He ain't tripping off Tiffany, but Ivanka.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he might be tripping, but it's just going to make him more violent. It's not going to make him kinder or let me stop doing what I'm doing. It's not going to do that for any of them. So I just don't believe, it's what it's going to require is people in the streets, a real swelling across the globe, right? Mm-hmm. That's what it's going to require. And that's the thing that we haven't seen. Because trust me, if a black man had killed this woman, that's what the conversation would have been about, right?
Right.
About black men killing white women, like it was when it wasn't happening.
Oh, let's be real. If that was a black agent, please, they would have handed them over.
Right.
But they would have shot him.
Right. What I'm really loving about this moment is that, we're over here in our chat, minding our business. Our hearts go out to Nicole's family. We think it's tragic, but there's a percentage in us to say this is not our fight. This is y'all's fight. Y'all people are reckless. We did, and it comes from Black people in this country did what we needed to do at the ballot. Okay, over 90% Black men and white men voted for the person would
white men.
No, I'm talking about Black people.
No, you said Black white.
Men,
you said
Black
white.
men and women. Black women, women, over majority, 90% voted for the candidate that would have erased all of this. Okay, so we don't know what more you want us to do. Okay, the power that we could have had in this country, across the board, inclusively, not exclusively, inclusively, we gave y'all that option and we presented it to America. Y'all rejected it. So this is not our fight. And that's how we feel. It's like we'll decide when we want to lace up our shoes. Some days we feel it, some days we want. And that is where I find my peace, because this ain't our fight. It is horrible. You don't know how you're going to feel each day. But at the same time, I want to see white folks fight for what they need to fight for, because we did our job at the polls.
Yeah. And just real briefly, when someone says, let's talk about Black on Black crime, you don't have obviously the intellectual capacity to have that conversation. And so anyway, and for those who say that racism won't end because we can't stop talking about it, we'll stop talking about it when y'all stop being racist. Black facts. On this date in 1866, Fisk University in Nashville, Tennessee opened its doors to newly freed slaves and held its first classes. The first students ranged in age from 7 to 70, but shared common experiences of slavery and poverty and an extraordinary thirst for learning, according to the school's website. The milestone came barely 6 months after the end of the Civil War and 2 years after the Emancipation Proclamation. So that's some history from 1866 on this date.
Right. And the funny thing, before I get into mine real quick, you'll never find really us on Bar Bright or in the KKK. You'll never find us over there. But they always want to be in our box. They always want to be in our team.
They want to control.
Whether you a bot, a not, a sot, a guy, you know, or a Beckerwood, or a honky, as George would say. As George would say, we ain't checking for y'all. But here y'all come all over in our Kool-Aid. Go get your unsweetened
Don't even
tea.
know the flavor.
Go back over there to the unsweetened tea. And on that note, I want to send love to the brothers of Phi Beta Sigma fraternity, because in 1914, they were founded at Howard University by these three men, Black brothers right here. And they said they established the fraternity to embody ideals of brotherhood, scholarship, and service. And we know this is the time where all of the Divine Nine are celebrating their Founders Day. So today, the brothers of the Blue and White, is it Blue and White? Phi Beta Sigma Fraternity Incorporated. Today is your day.
Today is your day, and make it a great, great day the rest of the day, and have a safe weekend. No matter what you do it safely, and do it with the Black Press.
That's right. That's right. First week down, 51 to go. And we'll have a great week for you next week with lots of voices and, of course, the headlines that are important to our experience. And so in the meantime, between time, you can head over to blackpressusa.com for the latest in Black news.
We'll see you on Monday.